Well, last month I was not able to do this Facebook Live. There was no Wi-Fi running here. Today the Wi-Fi is back, but a lot of people still in the sanctuary. You can see the church right there behind me. I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to you about worth. When we go to the supermarket, when we go to a department store, and we look at an item that we're going to buy, and we realize it's a little bit pricey, we ask ourselves the question, is it really worth it? Some people who are so brand conscious here in Thailand can go to a store where you can buy not exactly the original product, not an original Nike, but a kind of cut and paste Nike for much lesser price. And to be honest, it may last just as long as the original one. Is it worth it? Now, in matters of faith, we also ask that question, is it worth it? Is it worth being a Christian? Is it worth following Christ? Is it worth knowing God? Or can I really just take care of myself and not worry about all this religious mumbo-jumbo? I'm sure that somebody is playing with the lights. I'm sure that I can manage. After all, there's only one ending for humans anyway. Now, the Bible has a very different take, because it is not so interested in what we think about our self-worth, the worth of life around us, but about what God thinks about worth. See, when God looks down at this planet, He sees me, He sees you, He sees all the people who are here, and you can hear them in the background. And He says to Himself, are they worth it? Should I bother with them? Should I spend my time with them? Should I try to save them? Should I do something else? Is it worth it? One of the great Bible verses, perhaps one of the most loved Bible verses, tells us precisely that. John 3:16. God says, you are worth it. You are worth me sending my only Son to your world. You are worth me living a part of your life. You are worth me giving up a part of my life so that I can elevate you to my world. God loved the world so much. He wouldn't do that if He thought it wasn't worth His time, worth His effort, worth His energy. But you see, the Bible focuses on this one idea, that we have such a high worth value to God, that He will do anything, go through any suffering, any attempt for you and me. The question is, why should He do that? You've got to really love something, whether it's a brand, a child, a family member, a friend, to go to that extreme, that extent. What are we prepared to give for other people depends on the value we place on them. So the more value, the more worth we attach to a certain individual, the more we will sacrifice for that individual. That's how it goes. So a parent for the children, children for their parents, teachers for their students, and vice versa. It goes on down the line. The moment we say to ourselves that there's not much value, there's not much worth over here, we will give up. We will not try. But God never gives up. He even says to us, your mother and father might give up on you, but I will never give up on you. The Bible calls Him the Good Shepherd, who is always there. There are special names to remind us of this presence of God. Yahweh Shammah in Ezekiel, Emmanuel in Isaiah. And these names remind us that God is here. The name Yahweh itself means I am. In other words, I am with you. I am there. I am for you because I see worth in you. There's no greater sense of self-assurance that any human being can have than to realize how much worth we have. Not to ourselves, not to our families, not to our friends, not to the world around us, but how much worth we have to God. The cross that hangs on this church reminds us constantly that our worth value to God is through the roof. It's not just that God elevates our value to a certain point. He says that I will set you at the heads of the nations. I will exchange nations and peoples on your behalf. You are worth it. Now, if God finds us that worthy, shouldn't we find ourselves a little bit sense of worth? Shouldn't we find others around us, within the church, around the church, in the community, in the family, as being worth it as well? I hope that we do. Because as that sense of worth from God towards us is then transmitted horizontally towards other people around us, the world becomes a better place. It becomes the kind of place that God would have it become. Now we know there's a lot of evil going on in the world right now. It seems that there are many powers that consider human life not worth that much. It's okay. It's war, whatever excuse. But I hope that you will pray throughout the Sabbath and remind yourself that God always says, you are worth it. So I must believe it, and I must transmit it to other people as well. God bless, and have a really good week ahead.